I'm hoping some of you have heard of Sugata Mitra's work, because really that's far more important. He's the person with the big idea and not me. But when I was invited to come, I was told basically to tell you a story, to tell you what I've been doing. So decided to call my story The Adventures of a Cloud Granny in the school in the cloud. And really, I suppose it's the story of how I came from Diggle, which is a village in northwest England where I live, to here, today, via India. Maybe I need to start and tell you a little bit about what I did before I was a cloud granny. I wasn't always a cloud granny. As was mentioned, I was a secondary school teacher. I taught French and German. Then I stopped. I had the luxury of taking time off to have my family. Then went to Hong Kong with my husband's job, where I taught English as a foreign language. Came back, taught English classes in the community in Oldham, which is a town near me that has a big Bengali, Pakistani community. I taught women's classes. Went back to French teaching for a while, thought, oh no, I don't want to do this anymore. Decided to be an Oriental importer. And it was an excuse, really, to go to Thailand and buy nice things and come back again. But in fact, I was no businesswoman, so fortunately stopped before I lost too much money. And I'm telling you these things because it shows that I'm a person interested in foreign languages, in other cultures, in travel, in adventures. But I needed a proper job. And so the next job I got was working with a service, a citywide service in Manchester, which is the nearest city to where I live, working with their Ethnic Minority Achievement Service, which changed its name to be more politically correct over the years, but that was what it was called. My role was teaching English, working with children in schools, working with the schools and the teachers themselves to help them to include these children. And I think probably the most interesting and exciting part of my job, the most challenging part, was when we had a big influx of refugees and asylum seekers in Manchester. Manchester had some housing they could offer, but unfortunately at that time, not enough school places. And so we had all of these children from all over the world, every war-torn zone you can think of, coming to Manchester, and we couldn't find them school places. And my service was very involved in this, and probably it was the part of my job I enjoyed most because we really had to think outside the box a little bit. We managed to get some of the older children into ESOL courses in sixth form colleges, but not ideal. We set up some temporary out-of-school classes for some of the younger children, but again, it wasn't enough. And so we spent a lot of time thinking of how we could supplement this, give them more opportunities. These were children who were already extremely disadvantaged, who'd lost everything, who'd seen horrendous things, and we wanted to try and give them a good experience. And so we organised outdoor pursuits holidays, we liaised with a theatre in Manchester, and they put on the most fantastic production, actually, based on their experiences. We found people in the community, artists, poets, people who did singing workshops. We got the police in to talk to them. We got the community nurses in to talk to them. All sorts of things to supplement their education and to try and make it as wide as possible. I had a great time. The kids were fantastic. I learnt as much as they did, and I think that was very, very important. It made me realize that even extremely disadvantaged children who've had terrible experiences are very, very resilient and want to learn. Unfortunately, my career came to a rather abrupt end. I had a heart attack in 2006. There were cuts in funding. My service was being reorganized. My job disappeared. And I took early retirement in 2008 and thought, so, right, okay, that's it, end of the adventure, what now? Fortunately, I didn't have to find paid work, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to do something. And then one day I met a friend who showed me a copy of the Guardian newspaper, and I read an article about the work of Sugata Mitra and his experiments with the hole-in-the-wall project, which you can all look up and find out more about later. And I just thought, wow, this is it. This is fantastic. And the most exciting bit about it was at the end of the article, it asked for British grandmothers to read stories to children in India. And I thought, yes, yes, I can do this. This is what I want to do. And I rushed home, filled in the application form. Within a couple of weeks, was having an interview with the very wonderful Sunita Kulkarni, who is, in fact, the research director for the project, but the person without whom the Granny Cloud would not exist. I was interviewed by her, and within a few weeks became one of the earliest members of the Granny Cloud. This was 2009. At that time, I think Sugata had some funding to set up some little self-organized learning environments, is what he called them, in some schools in Hyderabad. And they had computers, and the original grannies were beamed in over Skype to talk to these children. And there's no curriculum, there was no real instruction as to what to do, but we read them stories, we sang songs, we read poems, we talked to them, they talked to us, told them jokes, whatever they wanted to do. It was very child-led, and it was a challenge, though. I was really pleased to do it because I felt I had some previous experience which helped, but it's a completely new thing. Trying to work, teaching is the wrong word. I was going to say, really, we're not teaching them as such. We're having sessions with them and engaging with them. But it's quite hard. It's very different from being in the classroom in that you can't always see the whole group. You don't always know how many children are there. The connection's not always great. The sound's not always great. The picture's not always great. Sometimes there's no sound, no picture. But we manage, and it is a challenge, and it's really interesting. The other challenge, I think, is the people who are involved at the other end. And unfortunately, most of the connections with these schools in Hyderabad don't happen anymore. Not because the children, oh, there I am Skyping the children, not because the children didn't like it. As you can see, the children loved it. But I think the adults, the other end, didn't really understand what we were doing. We were probably connecting with schools where the heads thought, great, they got these free computers, lots of kudos for the school. But the staff in the schools didn't really know anything about what we were doing. I think they possibly were intimidated by us. Perhaps they didn't have very good English, very limited IT skills. What on earth are these people doing? They're having fun. This isn't what we do in school. So this all broke down, really. But fortunately, at the same time, Sunita was very busy responding to inquiries from all over India, from lots of other organizations, schools, out-of-school clubs, individuals, all interested in what was going on and thinking, hey, this could be really good for us. She traveled all around the country and spoke with lots of different people, and she set up other centers and interviewed more grannies, matched grannies with centres, and we carried on. Even though the Hyderabad connection sort of seemed to come to an end, we carried on working with all of these other centres. And I'm pleased to say that most of those are still going. Some of them have increased. Some of them had several computers in their school or in their after-school club. Some had just one computer in an office somewhere. Some was just an individual in a village who had the only computer in the village and invited children into his house to connect with us. So all sorts of different setups, some rural, some very remote, some urban in slums, which is where Sugata started out his work. And we're connecting with all of those still. I connected at this time with a school. This is the one guy in the village. This is his outhouse, apparently. One of the other grannies has actually visited. It's an outhouse. And I've had a session here where, in fact, all the lights went out. The computer must have been on some other source of electricity. We had no lights. I was talking about Halloween at the time. It was absolutely wonderful. The kids were all there with torches, and we were talking about what things made us scared. And of course, they're scared of quite different things than we are, and they have reason to be. But that was really great. And this probably was the most exciting part of my adventure in a way, in that during this period, obviously, there's been lots of interest in Sugata's work. Lots of the grannies have given interviews to the media, and I had given an interview to the BBC, and thanks to the BBC, I was, well, you'll see, this was the next bit of my adventure.
4 years ago, Jackie was one of the first people to join a project that matches volunteers willing to teach with children who are hungry to learn.
Hi! Hi, boys!
For at least 1 hour a week, she speaks with a group of disadvantaged children in India via Skype. Children she's never met.
This is Anita who's with us today. Do you want to say hello to Anita?
Hello! Hello!
I know these two boys very well. Can you wave to us, Mangesh? Hi, this is Ravi on the right.
The point of the project, affectionately dubbed the Granny Cloud, is to improve their English and raise their expectations of what they can achieve.
Do you want a story today, boys?
Yeah.
Can you read the title here? Good. When you boxing, you could say biff, bop, biff.
In Hindi, you have dishum, dishum, dishum. Boys, how do you like Jackie? What do you think of Jackie? ये बहुत अच्छी है ना? Yeah, you're very nice. She's very loving. Very loving.
Oh.
But the kids are about to get the surprise of their life, as their next session with Jackie will be in person in India. After a 10-hour flight, Jackie has finally landed in India for the first time. She's on her way to the city of Pune, a 4-hour train journey to the east of Mumbai. With over 400 million children living in India, the education system is coming under increasing strain. Over 7 million children don't attend school at all. But a helping hand comes from after-school clubs like this one, Kelgar, where Jackie's group come to get online.
We're going to meet face to face, which is really strange. I don't quite know what they're going to make of it, and I'm feeling very nervous. I feel sick, I'm so scared. Namaskar. Namaskar. Just that first walking in, I wasn't too sure how they were going to react, but that only lasted for a very short time. I felt at ease with them and able to enjoy it. So, well, let's just check. I know everybody's name. You're Lakshmi. Yes? And your name?
Pallavi.
Ba? La? Vi. Thank you. You'd make a very good teacher, Mangesh. Let's swim over there. Let's swim. Oh, what was this one? Chickens. Chickens. I have presents for you. They thought it was chicken's eggs I was giving them. Well, so you can see it's been a fantastic adventure, but of course things have changed yet again, in that last year Sugata won the TED Prize, and suddenly there was some funding, because all the grannies in the Granny Cloud are volunteers anyhow. That makes no difference to us, but obviously in terms of the centres it does. And what Sugata has been doing, oh, the grannies did play a part in this, by the way. We saw there was an opportunity to nominate him, and actually if you listen to his speech, you might hear him talk of knowing a grandmother in Diggles. I told him it's Diggle, not Diggles, and I bought him the T-shirt, although that's not him in the T-shirt, I must say. With the money, they set up a website. Sugata has on here a toolkit which can be downloaded for people who want to set up their own self-organised learning environments. Grannies can connect via here and apply, and in fact I'm now involved in the applications and the interviewing process for grannies. I was just going to show you this, which is one of the most remote centres that we now connect with, which has been built with the funding. You can only get there on a boat and a strange vehicle with no name. And the grannies are connecting with this centre. What do the children think about it? They've never seen a computer before. Some of them have never really had any education before. Maybe if you don't read Bengali, that might be a little bit more helpful. They certainly think it's worthwhile, as do I. What the next chapter of the story is, I don't know. I just would like to be involved in it because I think it's a fantastic project. Thank you very much for listening.